A quiet morning. Sunlight creeps through thick oak trees lining a sleepy road just outside Oak Valley, Georgia. A crisp breeze lifts dry leaves. The only sound, the crunch of tires on gravel. A black Lexus SUV slows to a stop outside Earl's Diner, a favorite among locals and truckers alike. Out steps Leah Knox. 32. Black. Brilliant. Calm as a surgeon. Her hazel eyes scan the diner's glass windows. She's dressed sharp, navy slacks, a cream blouse, tailored blazer. A badge flashes at her hip, barely visible beneath the edge of her coat. She doesn't make it 3 steps. Step away from the vehicle. Hands where I can see them. 40s. White. Red-faced. Gun drawn. Voice shaking with rage, or fear, no one can tell. Leah stops. Raises her hands. And just stares. Delaney's finger trembles on the trigger. Leah's voice is low, steady. Put the gun down. You have the wrong person. Delaney shouts louder. Backup is still minutes away. No crime has been committed. No threat has been made. Yet here she stands, aiming her service weapon at a woman whose only crime was being black and brilliant in the wrong zip code. Then, a deep engine growls from the distance. A black Tahoe rolls in fast. Its doors swing open, and out steps Sheriff Marshall Grant. One look. That's all it takes. He doesn't shout. He commands. Officer Delaney, holster your weapon. Now. She doesn't move. He steps between her and Leah, and bows his head. Dr. Knox. I'm sorry. If that moment gripped you, like this video. If you believe in justice, subscribe for more stories like this. Share this with someone who needs to see it. And comment below, where in the world are you watching from, and when did you join Black Tales? Now, let's rewind, and show you what led to this explosion. Leah Knox stood at the top of the marble steps, sunlight reflecting off the glass doors behind her. Her black leather briefcase held a flash drive that could shake a local police department to its knees. She wasn't just a consultant. She was the Department of Homeland Security's newest AI specialist, tasked with exposing corrupted data logs, false reporting, and discriminatory policing patterns across the southeastern U.S. Oak Valley PD was her next stop. What she found? Disturbing. Dozens of traffic stops with missing footage. Body cams, accidentally, disabled. 90% of aggressive suspect reports targeting black drivers, most with no charges filed. And the same name kept appearing on complaint records, Officer Karen Delaney. Leah was headed to meet Sheriff Marshall Grant, a man she didn't know, but whose record showed integrity. She texted him. ETA 10 a.m. Stopping for coffee at Earl's. Bringing full files. It should have been routine. But someone inside Oak Valley PD saw her name in the system that morning, and radioed in a warning. The moment she stepped out of her SUV, Delaney rolled in like a missile. No introduction. No badge. Just flashing lights and a drawn weapon. License and registration now. Leah didn't flinch. She kept her hands visible. She spoke clearly. I'm here to meet Sheriff Grant. DHS security clearance. You're making a mistake. But Delaney didn't want clarification. She wanted control. You people always have an excuse. You people. Leah heard it. So did the 2 truckers eating breakfast inside the diner. So did the elderly couple across the street. Phones went up. Cameras clicked on. Delaney's voice grew more frantic, not less. You're under investigation for a stolen vehicle and identity fraud. Don't test me. Leah slowly reached for her ID badge. Delaney nearly fired. That's when a deputy finally radioed in. Sheriff Grant's en route. ETA 3 minutes. Sheriff Grant didn't need an explanation. He stepped out of the SUV, 6'4" and steady as stone. One look at the scene, and the fury in his eyes was colder than steel. He didn't yell. Didn't posture. He just took off his hat, stepped in front of Leah, and bowed. Dr. Knox. I'm so sorry. Are you hurt? Delaney's face went white. She fumbled her holster, finally lowering her weapon, but it was too late. Too many cameras. Too many witnesses. Too much truth. Sheriff Grant turned to her next. Officer Delaney, you are relieved of duty, effective immediately. Turn over your weapon and badge. Delaney, panicked. But, Sheriff, I thought she was. Grant, you thought wrong. And now everyone's going to see it. Sheriff Grant had seen corruption before. But nothing like this. The files Leah decrypted revealed a hidden folder, Project Echo. Inside, dozens of falsified reports. Digital manipulation of body cam footage. A pattern of wrongful arrests, mostly targeting young black men with STEM scholarships or government internships. And worst of all, internal memos referencing a task force above the law, with federal clearance. Leah didn't speak as he scrolled through. She didn't need to. She'd already spoken with Internal Affairs. She'd already delivered her findings to Homeland Security. This wasn't just a data leak, it was a career test. Grant, finally. Who else has this? Leah. Just me. And now you. Grant. They're going to come after you. Leah, softly. They already did. A knock. 3 times. Too sharp to be casual. She checks the peephole. No one there. She opens the door cautiously. A manila envelope lies on the ground. No return address. Just her name. Inside, a single printed photo of her at age 14, standing with her father at a science fair. A typed note. Drop the investigation. You're not ready for the cost. You've been warned. E. Leah doesn't blink. Instead, she calls one person. Sheriff Grant. Leah, calm. They're watching me. Maybe watching you too. Grant, furious. This town's got a cancer. I thought I could root it out. But this is federal. Leah. Then go louder. Not quieter. Grant. I want a press conference. Today. But before he can make it out the door, his chief deputy bursts in. Deputy Reeves, pale. Sir. Internal Affairs just issued a hold on your badge. Grant. What? Reeves. They say a complaint's been filed. Misuse of authority. You're suspended, effective immediately. Leah stands slowly. They're moving fast. She's got her own file open. Project Echo. Redacted pages. Missing data. She looks up at her analyst. Jansen. Knox's files were clean. But someone's tampered with our system. Analyst. You think someone inside DHS is working against her? Jansen, grim. I think Project Echo was never supposed to be found. Sheriff Grant, stripped of his badge, but not his voice, takes the podium. Leah stands behind him. Dozens of cameras point. Protesters chant. Tension thickens. Grant, into the mic. I've served Oak Valley for 19 years. And today, I speak not as sheriff, but as a citizen tired of silence. He pauses, then continues. I was suspended for protecting a woman who uncovered proof of systemic abuse in our own ranks. Her name is Dr. Leah Knox. And she is telling the truth. The crowd erupts. But behind the cameras, someone watches quietly. A man in a black suit, earpiece in, speaking into a mic. They just escalated. Initiate containment protocol. The crowd murmurs as Sheriff Grant's words echo through the speakers. Sheriff Grant, firmly. And today, I'm telling you, this corruption runs deeper than any of us imagined. It's not just one officer, not just one agency. This is systemic. The truth is here, and I will not back down. A cheer rises from the crowd. But behind them, in the shadows, a sleek black SUV pulls up. Leah, whispering to Grant. Someone's not happy. Grant. We've already made enough noise. We'll be fine. But Leah knows better. The look in her eyes is cold, calculating. She doesn't trust the silence that follows. Leah. They're not done. Not by a long shot. The man in the black suit is joined by a new figure, a woman stern-faced in her 40s. Her sharp features betray a lifetime of power plays. Coldly. They've exposed the cracks. We've underestimated them. Woman, voice low, cold. Leah Knox, Sheriff Grant, both capable. But it won't matter. Do you want to stop them or contain them? E. Leaning forward. Containment is no longer an option. We deal with them. Quietly. The woman nods, fingers tapping her phone. A text message pops up. Message. Activate blackout protocol. They've gone too far. E. Smiling coldly. Then we bring in the fixer. Leah looks at the files strewn across her desk. Internal memos. Leaked documents. Taped together. She's piecing the puzzle together, but there's one thing she knows. Project Echo isn't just about Oak Valley. It's part of something much bigger. She grabs her phone and types a quick message. Grant, I need you to meet me. ASAP. A knock at her door stops her. Slow. Intentional. Leah's heart races as she opens it to find Agent Myra Jansen standing there, looking calm but her eyes sharp as knives. Leah, cold. Thought I might be next on your target list. Jansen, smiling. No. I'm not here for that. I'm here because we have a problem. Leah lets her in, and Jansen quickly sits down, her expression turning serious. Jansen. I can't protect you forever, Leah. You need to stop digging. Let this go. Leah, coldly. I'm not backing down. If you're not with me, then get out of my way. Jansen, sighing. You don't get it. The people behind this, they'll bury you and everything you care about, without hesitation. They control everything, Leah. Every file, every corner. All of us are just pieces in their game. Leah. Then I'll burn the board down. A sleek black car pulls up outside. The door opens. A tall man in his 50s walks in. His presence radiates authority, a man who knows the game and plays it well. This is Agent Simmons. Leah, under her breath to Grant. This is the man behind Project Echo. The one who's pulling the strings. Simmons sits across from them, his face unreadable. Simmons, leaning in. You've poked the bear, Leah. But the bear doesn't care about you or Sheriff Grant. It's about the files. The power in those documents. The people involved, and their network. Grant, sharp. What do you want? Simmons, smiling darkly. I want you both to stop. You don't have the means to finish this fight. If you walk away now, I can guarantee safety. Keep digging, and, let's just say, the consequences will be irreversible. Leah, coldly. Why would we trust someone like you? Simmons, leaning back. Because if you don't, you'll regret it for the rest of your lives. E. on the phone. Contain Leah Knox. I want her off the streets. Make sure she's the next target. The camera cuts between E. various shadowy figures preparing the blackout protocol, and Leah walking the streets outside the diner. E. cold, determined. If she won't stop digging, then we will remove the hole. The wind blows cold through the empty street, and Leah's heart pounds. But she's not scared. She knows the risks, but she's never been more certain. Leah, whispering to herself, I'm going to tear them apart. Just then, a car screeches to a halt behind her. She turns, too late. Agent Simmons steps out, his expression cold as ice. Leah, stepping forward, unshaken. I'm not backing down. So either kill me or help me. Simmons' lips twitch into a thin smile, but it's his next words that send a chill down Leah's spine. Simmons, grinning. There's a reason the government calls me the fixer, Leah. People like you don't make it in the game. And before Leah can respond, another car pulls up, this one far less friendly. Leah freezes, realizing too late. This isn't just about information anymore. This is a war. Simmons, to the men, nodding. Take her. The cold night air seems to suffocate everything in the alley. The faint hum of the city is distant, swallowed by the tension hanging thick between Leah and the two men approaching her, rifles in hand. Agent Simmons stands by, his face grim but calculating. Leah's eyes flash with defiance, but even she knows this is a moment of truth. No one ever survives when they're this deep into the enemy's den. She takes a deep breath, preparing herself for whatever comes next. Leah, with grit. Think you can silence me? Think again. Simmons takes a step forward, his smirk only deepening. Simmons, calmly. You're already out of options, Leah. There's no going back now. You've seen too much. Your choices were made the moment you decided to dig deeper than they wanted you to. The men in suits close in, weapons raised, their eyes locked on Leah like hawks. But then, a sudden, deafening sound. A car door slams open in the distance. Tires screech. The night is split by a single gunshot. Leah's heart stops. The men freeze. And for a fleeting moment, everything seems to stand still. Leah, voice shaking, but resolute. Who is that? Grant's knuckles grip the steering wheel, his face tense with anger and resolve. The words he had spoken at the press conference were still ringing in his ears. We don't back down. He's not just going to sit by and let Leah fall victim to this corruption. Not after everything they've uncovered. Not after all that's at stake. Grant, to himself, determined. I won't let them do this. Not to her. Not to Oak Valley. His foot slams down harder on the gas pedal as the SUV skids to a halt right next to Leah. The two men with rifles instinctively turn their weapons on the vehicle, but it's too late. Bang! Grant, with practiced precision, fires a single round into the air, causing them to hesitate. The tension shatters. This is no longer just a standoff, this is a showdown. Leah's pulse races as she watches Grant step out of the car. The two men now point their weapons at him, but he stands tall, unflinching. His eyes are locked on Leah, a silent promise of protection. Grant, to Leah, voice steady. Get in the car. Now. Leah doesn't need to be told twice. She sprints toward the SUV, and with one final glance at the men in suits, and Simmons, she dives into the back seat. The engine roars to life again. Simmons doesn't move a muscle, standing there as the SUV speeds away, his expression unreadable, his patience just as chilling. Leah, still catching her breath, turns to Grant, her face a mixture of relief and anxiety. Leah, why did you come for me? I didn't think you'd. Grant shakes his head, his eyes hard but understanding. Grant, steely, unflinching. We've been fighting the same fight. You've never been alone in this. Leah wants to believe him, she wants to trust him more than anyone, but there's a weight of doubt pressing down on her. Simmons, the fixer, has made his move. And when someone like him gets involved, it's only a matter of time before things get much worse. Leah, voice low, nervous. This isn't over, Grant. They won't stop until I'm gone. They'll hunt me down. We are marked. Grant doesn't say anything. The sound of tires screeching and the roaring engine fills the silence. He knows. He knows all too well. Grant, quietly. I'll keep you safe. I promise. But even as the words leave his lips, Grant's phone buzzes. He pulls it from his pocket and glances at the screen. His eyes narrow as he reads the message. Grant, muttering to himself. They've found us. Agent Simmons stands before a large monitor, a digital map of Oak Valley flickering on the screen. His fingers hover over the keyboard as a message appears in front of him. Message. Target. Leah Knox. Remove. Immediate. Simmons closes his eyes, letting the weight of his next move wash over him. This isn't just about Leah anymore. It's about sending a message. The kind that echoes far beyond Oak Valley. He takes a deep breath. Simmons, into the phone, cold. Activate blackout protocol. She's ours. Grant's grip tightens around the steering wheel as he spots a familiar figure in the rearview mirror. It's another black SUV. The car is tailing them. Leah looks back, her eyes widening with a dawning realization. Leah, sharply. They've found us. Grant doesn't say a word. He floors the gas pedal, the engine growling as the SUV lurches forward. The black SUV behind them is relentless, closing in. Grant's eyes flicker from the rearview mirror to the road ahead, his mind calculating his next move. The streets are deserted, but they're not safe, not with them on their tail. Grant, urgently. Buckle up. We're not getting out of this quietly. The night seems to grow colder as the chase intensifies. It's a high-speed game of cat and mouse, the only certainty being that the moment they stop, they're finished. Leah's pulse races, her mind racing with the consequences of their actions. She looks at Grant, and for the first time, she can see just how deep this fight goes. Grant's SUV screeches to a halt in front of one of the large, imposing buildings. He slams the door open, immediately pushing Leah toward the door. Grant, grabbing her arm, urgently. Go inside. No. Leah hesitates for a split second before stepping out. The dark shadows of the warehouse loom overhead, a place of safety or death. Inside, the air is stale, the silence deafening. Leah looks around as she and Grant move deeper into the maze of concrete corridors. They're not alone. The sound of footsteps, the quiet thud of boots, sends a cold shiver down her spine. Grant pulls out his weapon, scanning the corners with precision. He's ready for whatever comes next. And then, from the shadows, a voice cuts through the silence. Simmons, laughing softly. You didn't think I'd let you escape that easily, did you? Leah's blood runs cold. Leah, whispering. It's over. But as Simmons steps forward, Grant fires a single warning shot. The man in the shadows stops, just as Grant's voice echoes through the hollow space. Grant. You can either walk away now, Simmons, or I can make sure you never walk again. The warehouse is deathly still, the air thick with tension. Grant and Leah stand facing Simmons, their weapons drawn, but there's an undeniable sense of urgency in the atmosphere. Simmons, smiling coldly. You think you're in control here, don't you, Sheriff? You really think I'm afraid of you? His voice drips with arrogance, but Grant doesn't flinch. He knows all too well that the man standing before him is nothing more than a pawn in a far greater game, a game that stretches beyond this building, beyond Oak Valley. Grant, calmly. You're the one out of options, Simmons. Your game is up. Simmons laughs, stepping forward, eyes narrowing. Simmons, mockingly. You think you've won? You're just a small piece on the board. The real power lies elsewhere, Sheriff. Leah's heart races. She doesn't understand it all, but one thing is clear. Simmons is trying to control the narrative. He wants her gone, wants her silenced. And if she doesn't act now, it's over for them both. Leah, quietly to Grant. There's no way out unless we expose them. Grant nods, a plan forming in his mind. This isn't just about escaping. It's about stopping the machine behind Simmons. The corrupt system that's been pulling the strings needs to be torn down, piece by piece. And it all starts now. Grant shifts, aiming his weapon at Simmons, but he doesn't fire. Not yet. He's waiting for the right moment, waiting for Leah's signal. Leah, stepping forward, her voice steady. You want to know what I've uncovered, Simmons? What's truly at stake? Simmons smirks, but there's a flicker of concern in his eyes. Leah's confidence is unnerving. Leah, with quiet intensity. I know who's behind you. The ones pulling the strings, the ones who think they can control everything. You're just a middleman. And your time is running out. Simmons's face twists in anger, but Leah's words have struck a chord. He steps back, raising his hand as if to silence her, but it's too late. The truth is out, and there's no turning back. Grant glances at Leah, then at Simmons, before addressing him directly. Grant, coldly. You think you can hide behind this charade? You're done. The people of Oak Valley will know everything. It's not just the corruption you're covering up, it's the conspiracy. Simmons stiffens, a flicker of panic crossing his face. He knows it's over, that the walls are closing in. He tries to backpedal, his voice suddenly losing its confidence. Simmons, desperate. You don't understand. This isn't just about us. There's a bigger picture you're too blind to see. Grant's eyes narrow, his grip tightening on his weapon. He doesn't need to hear any more lies. This isn't about power or politics. This is about justice, about making sure the truth comes to light. Grant, commanding. Enough. It ends now. Before Simmons can react, a squad of tactical agents bursts through the door. They've been waiting for the signal, watching from the shadows. They're the ones who had been tracking Simmons, waiting for him to slip up. The time for his games is over. Agent Myra Jansen, stepping forward, stern. You're under arrest for conspiracy, obstruction, and abuse of power. Simmons opens his mouth to protest, but it's too late. The agents move quickly, cuffing him before he can say another word. Simmons, muttering, defeated. "You think this is over? You don't know who you're messing with." But Myra cuts him off, her voice unwavering. Agent Myra Jansen, firmly. "It is over. For you. And for anyone who thinks they can get away with this." It's been a long night, but the first rays of dawn bring hope. The streets of Oak Valley are quieter than usual, the tension that had gripped the community for so long starting to fade away. Leah, now free from Simmons's clutches, stands outside the local courthouse. Her eyes, once filled with fear and uncertainty, now shine with confidence and determination. The truth has been exposed, the conspiracy unraveled, and Simmons, the man who tried to silence her, has been taken into custody. She takes a deep breath, looking around the town she once feared might never change. The news of Simmons's arrest has spread like wildfire. The whispers of corruption, of injustice, have finally found their voice. The community is waking up. Grant stands beside her, his expression unreadable, but there's a glint of pride in his eyes. He knows the battle isn't over, not by a long shot, but today they've won. Today, they've begun the fight for a better future. Grant, to Leah, softly. "You did it. We did it." Leah looks at him, her heart swelling with gratitude. But she knows that this victory, while significant, is only the beginning. Leah, nodding. "This is just the start, Grant. There's more to uncover. More to fix." Grant smiles, his gaze meeting hers. "Grant," confidently. "Then let's keep going. Together." He sits at his desk, reviewing the details of the case. The weight of the truth, the weight of the fight, is starting to settle in, but there's something more in his mind. He picks up his phone, dialing a number he hasn't called in a long time. It rings twice before a voice answers. Voice on the phone. "Sheriff Grant. Is everything secure?" Grant's voice is steady, but there's a hint of finality in his tone. Grant, grimly. "Everything's in motion. The people behind this are in the light now. It's time to take them down, one by one." There's a long pause on the other end. Voice, relieved. "Understood. We'll start the cleanup." It's over. Grant hangs up and looks out the window. The dawn is breaking over Oak Valley, but the real work is just beginning. Leah stands at the edge of the courthouse steps, watching the sunrise as a sense of calm washes over her. She knows this won't be the last fight, there's still much to be done, but for the first time, she feels like they can actually make a difference. Leah, to herself, quietly. Justice is a long road, but we're on the right path. She walks down the steps, her heart lighter than it's been in years. Oak Valley is changing, and so is she. The fight for justice has just begun, and together with Grant, and the people who stood by her, Leah is ready to take on whatever comes next. The camera pulls back as she walks into the distance, the rising sun casting a golden light over the town, symbolizing hope, renewal, and the dawn of a new era. Sometimes, the fight for justice isn't just about one person. It's about a community. And when we stand together, even the darkest forces cannot win. Thank you for watching this powerful story of courage and truth. If you believe in justice, in standing up for what's right, like this video, share it with your friends, and comment below where you're watching from. We want to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire change and ignite courage. The fight for justice never ends.